This was humanity's first appearance before the Council, a moment that would determine Earth's fate among the stars. The circular chamber rose hundreds of feet upward, with thousands of viewing platforms arranged in concentric rings. Each platform held representatives from different worlds across the galaxy. Their forms varied wildly from crystalline beings that shimmered in the light to massive tentacled creatures suspended in special atmosphere chambers. Whispers rippled through the assembly. As the humans walked the long pathway toward the central platform, Ellen kept her eyes forward, ignoring the countless alien gazes she could feel upon her. She wore a simple blue diplomatic uniform designed to appear non-threatening yet formal. The 4 other team members followed close behind, each chosen for their expertise in xenobiology, interstellar law, cultural anthropology, and military strategy. "Welcome, delegates of Earth," boomed a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The universal translator in Ellen's ear rendered the words in English, though she knew the speaker was using the formal council language. The voice belonged to High Arbiter Vaxus, a being composed of swirling energy contained within an ornate metallic frame that hovered at the center of the chamber. "You stand before the Galactic Council, an institution that has maintained peace and order for 50,000 cycles." Ellen stepped onto the speaker platform, which illuminated beneath her feet. "You come at a precarious time," the Arbiter continued. "Earth has violated Protocol 774 by expanding beyond your designated development zone without formal approval. The penalty for such transgression is severe." The chamber grew deathly quiet. Ellen could feel the weight of thousands of alien eyes upon her. The human delegation had been summoned after Earth ships established colonies in the Proxima Centauri system, unaware it fell under protected status. Ellen cleared her throat and spoke clearly. "Hi, Arbiter members of the esteemed Council, I am Ambassador Ellen Wright of Earth. We come before you with respect for this august body and its traditions." Her voice carried through the chamber as translation fields converted her words into thousands of different languages simultaneously. "We acknowledge that humanity has much to learn about galactic protocols," she continued. "However, we wish to present evidence that may contextualize our actions." A low murmur spread through the chamber. The Council rarely allowed new species to present evidence once violations had been established. High Arbiter Vaxus pulsed brighter. "This is most irregular." From a viewing platform near the top of the chamber, a tall avian being with iridescent feathers stood and shrieked, "Earth has already demonstrated its aggressive tendencies. They established military outposts in the Proxima system. They should be contained to their homeworld, like other dangerous species." Shouts of agreement echoed from various sections of the chamber. Ellen remained calm, though her heart raced beneath her composed exterior. The human delegation had anticipated this reaction. Their intelligence gathering had revealed deep divisions within the Council regarding how to handle emerging, spacefaring civilizations. With respect to the representative from Kree, Ellen responded, "We did not establish military outposts. The structures detected were scientific research stations, studying stellar phenomena. We had no knowledge that the system fell under Council protection, as first contact protocols with our world were never properly established." This caused another wave of murmurs to sweep through the chamber. "High Arbiter, I request permission to present evidence that may be relevant to these proceedings," Ellen said. The swirling energy within Vaxus' frame seemed to condense as the being considered the request. After a moment it responded, "You may present your evidence, Earth delegate, but be warned, this Council has stood for millennia. We are not easily swayed by the excuses of newcomers." Ellen nodded to Dr. Marcus Lee, the cultural anthropologist of their team. He stepped forward, activating a small device in his palm. A holographic display appeared above the central platform, showing star maps and ancient Council records that the human team had spent months researching. "What you see before you are records from the Council's own archives," Dr. Lee explained, "records that show Earth was visited by Council observers over 12,000 years ago. Yet no formal designation as a protected developing world was ever filed. According to your own laws, a world must be properly cataloged and registered before development restrictions apply." The chamber erupted in surprised conversations. High Arbiter Vaxus pulsed rapidly, clearly taken aback. Furthermore, Ellen continued as the hologram shifted to show various alien artifacts discovered on Earth. We have evidence that numerous council species have visited our world throughout our history. Some even interfered with our development, yet no official contact was ever established. This constitutes a violation of your own prime directive of non-interference. A massive being with multiple eyes leaned forward from a middle-tier platform. The representative from the Dorn hegemony, one of the oldest council members, spoke in a rumbling voice. The human makes a valid point. The proper protocols for emerging world designation do not appear to have been followed in Earth's case. High Arbiter. Vaxis seemed to dim slightly. This is unexpected, however it does not excuse the unauthorized expansion. Ellen nodded respectfully. We do not seek to excuse our actions, merely to contextualize them. We come before the Council not just to defend ourselves, but to request formal recognition and proper integration into galactic society. She gestured and the hologram changed again, showing Earth's solar system and nearby stars. Humanity has achieved faster than light travel, independently a feat accomplished by only 17% of spacefaring species. We have unified our world government, established sustainable resource management, and developed technologies compatible with Council standards, all criteria for formal recognition, according to Section 12 of the Council Charter. The avian representative squawked angrily. They are manipulating our own laws against us. This is outrageous. Ellen turned to face the chamber, directly addressing the thousands of representatives. With respect, we are not manipulating anything. We are simply asking for fair application of the laws that govern this body. We come seeking partnership, not conflict. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. Earth stands ready to contribute to the greater galactic community. We bring new perspectives, scientific discoveries, and cultural richness. If given the chance, we can be valuable allies to all peaceful worlds. The chamber had grown oddly silent. Many representatives were consulting data terminals or conversing quietly. With advisors, High Arbiter Vaxis conferred with several senior council members in hushed tones that even the translation field could not capture. Finally, Vaxis turned back to address Ellen. The council acknowledges the irregularities in Earth's case. The evidence you present warrants further investigation. We will recess to consider your petition for recognition. Ellen fought to keep her expression neutral. This was more than the delegation had hoped for according to their briefings. Most new species were simply assigned probationary status without consideration. As the human team was escorted from the central platform to a waiting area, Ellen caught sight of several representatives from different tiers watching them intently. Some with obvious curiosity, others with what appeared to be alarm. Ambassador. A voice whispered in her earpiece. It was Admiral Chen monitoring from the human ship in orbit. We detected unusual communications traffic after your presentation. Several council races seem very interested in your evidence, particularly the artifacts. Be careful. Ellen gave a slight nod to acknowledge the message. Something about their reception felt wrong. The council had been surprisingly receptive to their legal argument. She couldn't shake the feeling that they had stirred up something unexpected, something that certain council members had hoped would remain buried. Whatever secrets lay in Earth's past and its connection to the galactic community. Ellen sensed they were about to surface, and the consequences would reshape humanity's place among the stars. Here's part 2. Something isn't right, Ellen said, keeping her voice low. Our argument shouldn't have created such a stir, Dr. Lee. What do you make of their reaction? Marcus Lee studied the information scrolling across his screen. According to our intelligence, most new species are simply dismissed or placed under restrictions. The Council rarely calls a full recess to consider evidence, especially from an unrecognized world diplomatic expert. Amara Okafor looked up from her notes. The avian representative from Kree seemed particularly hostile. But did you notice the Dorn delegate actually supported our position? The Dorn are founding members of the Council. That kind of division is unprecedented. A soft chime interrupted their discussion. The door slid open, revealing a being that appeared to be made of living mercury. Its fluid form rippled as it spoke. Ambassador Wright, the Council requests your presence. Not your entire delegation. Just you, Ellen exchanged glances with her team. Security advisor, Jake Riley, shook, his head slightly. With respect, Ellen replied, I would prefer to have at least one member of my team present during any discussions. The mercurial being rippled in what might have been agitation. We are not authorized to allow this. The High Arbiters request your presence alone. Jake stepped forward, placing himself subtly between Ellen and the alien. His military training evident in his stance. Ambassador Wright is the official representative of Earth. Any communication with her constitutes formal. Diplomatic exchange under council law, she is entitled to an advisor. The being paused, its surface swirling in complex patterns. It seemed to be receiving instructions through some unseen communication. After several tense moments, it responded, Very. Well, one advisor may accompany you. Follow me. Ellen nodded to Dr. Lee. The cultural anthropologist would be most valuable in understanding whatever was happening. Marcus gathered his datapad and fell in step beside her as they followed their guide. Instead of returning to the main council chamber, they were led through a series of corridors that spiraled deeper into the massive station. The passages grew older, the architecture shifting from the sleek modern design to something that appeared ancient, carved from what looked like solid stone. This section isn't on any of the station schematics we were provided. Marcus whispered. Ellen nodded, keeping her face neutral. They were being taken somewhere off the official record. Finally, they reached an ornate door that appeared to be made of actual wood, a rarity in space construction. Their guide gestured toward it. The door swung open, revealing a circular room with a table at its center. Around it sat 5 beings, each representing one of the founding species of the Galactic Council. High Arbiter Vaxis hovered at the head of the table, its energy form pulsing slowly. The other 4 included the massive, many-eyed Dorn representative, a crystalline entity that refracted light in hypnotic patterns, a being composed of what appeared to be living vines and a small creature with oversized eyes that reminded Ellen of ancient human depictions of aliens. Please be seated, Ambassador Vaxis said, its tone different from the formal address in the public. Chamber less imperious, more cautious, Ellen and Marcus took the 2 empty seats. The door sealed behind them with a solid thunk. What you presented in the council chamber has created a significant problem. Vaxis began. Those artifacts you showed, they should not exist. Ellen kept her expression neutral, but her mind raced. This was not the direction she had expected. What do you mean? The vine being leaned forward, tendrils writhing. The official record states that Earth was catalogued but never approached. However, the artifacts you displayed suggest extensive contact, possibly even deliberate technological seeding. Marcus activated his datapad. Are you suggesting that Earth was subject to illegal interference? The crystalline entity emitted a series of sharp clicks that the translator rendered as not just interference guidance. Possibly even genetic manipulation. Ellen felt a chill run through her. The implications were staggering. Are you saying some council races have been secretly influencing human development? The small being with the large eyes blinked rapidly. This is precisely what concerns us. The artifacts you displayed bear markers of at least 3 different council races, including technologies that would violate our most sacred laws regarding developing worlds, the Dorn representative rumbled. Yet no official record of such contact exists. This suggests a conspiracy spanning thousands of years. Vaxis pulsed with what Ellen interpreted as agitation. We have called you here because your public presentation threatens to expose something that could destabilize the entire council. Some factions would prefer to simply silence Earth rather than allow these questions to be raised. Ellen tensed, understanding the veiled threat. We came seeking recognition, not to uncover conspiracies. The crystalline being clicked rapidly. The damage is done. Your evidence has already been transmitted through official channels. It cannot be erased, but it can be controlled. The small-eyed being countered. Vaxis turned its attention directly to Ellen. Ambassador, we face a crossroads. The full council is divided. There are those who wish to isolate Earth completely, perhaps even take more drastic measures. Others who believe these revelations should lead to a complete investigation of past interference with developing worlds. Earth stands at the center of a potential political crisis that has been brewing for millennia. Ellen processed this information carefully. Why tell us this? Why not simply vote to contain Earth as a threat? The Dorn representative rumbled. Because Ambassador Wright, the truth is more complex than you realize. We believe Earth was not randomly selected for interference. Your planet was deliberately cultivated. Marcus leaned forward. What does that mean? Cultivated, the vine being extended a tendril toward their datapad. May I, after a nod from Ellen. Marcus handed over the device. The tendril connected with it, transferring data. What you are seeing now is classified. At the highest level, the being explained. It exists in only one archive accessible only to the 5 founding races. Ellen stared at the images appearing on the screen. Ancient star charts, genetic sequences, and what appeared to be projections of evolutionary paths for different species, including humans. According to these records, the vine being continued. Earth's unique evolutionary path was guided to produce a species with specific traits, adaptability, creativity, resistance to psychic influence, and most importantly, the capacity to challenge established systems. Ellen felt as though the floor had dropped away beneath her. Are you saying humans were bred as some kind of experiment? Not an experiment, Vaxis corrected. A contingency. Earth and humanity were designed as a safeguard against corruption within the Council itself. The room fell silent as Ellen and Marcus processed this revelation. The Dorn spoke again, breaking the silence. For 50,000 years, the Council has maintained peace. But systems that endure, grow rigid. Corruption has taken root in our institution. Species with power protect that power. New voices are silenced. The crystalline being clicked. Some of us believe it is time for change. That is why Earth was never officially catalogued. It was protected by those who planted the seeds of your development, waiting for the day you would reach the stars. And now, Ellen said slowly, you want us to be your agents of change. Vaxis pulsed. We want you to be exactly what you were, designed to be a species that questions, that challenges, that disrupts when disruption is needed. Ellen looked at Marcus, whose eyes were wide with shock. She turned back to the 5 ancient beings. What happens now? The small-eyed creature blinked in. The public session tomorrow, the Council will vote. Either Earth will be recognized and granted membership with all the protections that entails, or. Ellen prompted or. The forces that wish to maintain the current power structure will move to isolate your world. Possibly worse, Vaxis answered. And what do you want from us? Ellen asked. The truth. Vaxis said simply. Return to the Council chamber tomorrow. Speak the truth of what we have shown you. Force the Council to confront what some of its members have done. Demand a full investigation. It will cause chaos, perhaps even threaten the Council itself, but it may be the only way to save it. Ellen stood, feeling the weight of this revelation settling on her shoulders. You realize you're asking me to risk my entire planet in a power struggle that has nothing to do with us. The Dorn rumbled deeply. It has everything to do with you. It is the reason you exist. As Ellen and Marcus were escorted back to their waiting area, neither spoke, both trying to process the implications of what they had learned. The fate of Earth now hinged on a decision Ellen would have to make by morning: challenge the entire power structure of galactic civilization, or accept whatever judgment the Council handed down. Behind them, unseen, the 5 ancient beings exchanged looks. The test had begun. The humans would either prove themselves worthy of their designed purpose, or they would fail, and the galaxy would continue its slow decay into corruption and stagnation. This is insane, Jake Riley, the security advisor, said, pacing the room. They're telling us we were engineered as some kind of galactic whistleblowers, and now they expect us to blow up their entire political system. Amara adjusted her glasses. We need to consider the strategic implications. If we do as they ask, we potentially make enemies of countless powerful species. If we refuse, we may be contained, or worse. Ellen stared at the data Marcus had managed to copy from the meeting. The genetic sequences, The ancient star charts, the projections, all suggesting a deliberate hand in human evolution. Dr. Kaya Patel, the team's xenobiologist, had been studying the data all night. The evidence is compelling, she admitted. These markers in our genetic code, they aren't natural mutations. They show signs of precision engineering over thousands of generations. But there's something else, Marcus added. Something they aren't telling us. I noticed discrepancies in the data. Some of these modifications don't make sense. If they just wanted us to be independent thinkers. Ellen looked up. What do you mean? Marcus pulled up several genetic sequences on the main display. These genetic markers. They aren't just for intelligence or creativity. Some of them affect our neurochemistry in ways that would make humans particularly resistant to certain forms of control. And these, he pointed to another sequence, would make us unusually adaptable to different environments, including space. Jake stopped pacing. What are you suggesting? Marcus frowned. I think we were designed for more than just challenging the political status quo. I think we were designed as warriors. A heavy silence fell over the room. The council session begins in 1 hour. Amara reminded them. We need to decide our approach. Ellen stood up, walking to the viewport that looked out over the vast station and the stars beyond. Thousands of worlds waited on their decision. Billions of lives, including everyone back on Earth. We don't have enough information to make this choice, she said finally. We need to know more about what we're walking into, Jake nodded. And I have an idea how we might get it. The massive council chamber hummed with tension as delegates from across the galaxy took their positions. The human delegation had not yet arrived, creating a wave of speculation among the representatives. High Arbiter Vaxis hovered at the central platform, its energy form pulsing with apparent impatience. The other founding members had taken their traditional positions, but there was unease in their movements. Finally, the main doors opened. Ambassador Ellen Wright entered alone. Her blue uniform replaced by a formal white diplomatic suit that stood out starkly against the colorful alien representatives she walked with. Purpose toward the central platform. As she approached, Vaxis pulsed brightly. Ambassador Wright, where is the rest of your delegation? Ellen took her position on the speaker's platform. The rest of my team is gathering additional evidence that may be relevant to these proceedings, High Arbiter. They will join us shortly. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The avian representative from Kree shrieked. This is a delay tactic. They should not be allowed to present new evidence. Ellen turned, addressing the chamber directly. Yesterday I presented evidence suggesting that Earth was never properly catalogued as a protected world, that various council races have visited and possibly interfered with our development. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the tiers of alien representatives. Last night I was approached privately by representatives of the founding races. They shared information suggesting that humanity was deliberately engineered over thousands of years to serve as a counterbalance to corruption within this very council. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouting, calling for order, some even leaving their platforms in protest. Vaxis pulsed rapidly, clearly alarmed. Order, order. The High Arbiter commanded, these accusations are without evidence and beyond the scope of these proceedings. Ellen stood firm. I was told that humanity was designed with specific traits to challenge established systems, to question authority. When powerful institutions become corrupt, the crystalline founding member emitted sharp clicks, clearly distressed. Ambassador, this is not what we discussed. No, Ellen agreed. It isn't. I decided that if we were truly designed to challenge corruption, then I should start by questioning the very beings who claim to have created us. The doors at the rear of the chamber opened again. The rest of the human delegation entered. But they were not alone. With them came a procession of representatives from various worlds, mostly younger species that had joined the council in recent centuries. Amara stepped forward carrying a data crystal. This contains information shared with us by 27 council worlds, all reporting unauthorized interference with their development, similar to what happened on Earth, all covered up, all pointing to a pattern of manipulation. The Dorn founding member rumbled dangerously. You overstep. Human Ellen stood her ground. If what you told me is true, If humans were designed to challenge corruption, then I am fulfilling my purpose. But I will not be a pawn in a power struggle between the founding races. I will not trade one form of manipulation for another. She gestured, and Marcus activated a holographic display showing the genetic sequences they had identified. These modifications to our genome, Dr. Kaya announced, are consistent with creating a species for conflict, not just intellectual challenge but physical confrontation. These are warrior adaptations. The vine being writhed in apparent agitation. This is a misinterpretation, Ellen raised her voice, addressing the entire chamber. We believe that Earth and possibly dozens of other worlds were engineered not to reform the Council, but to replace it. That certain founding members have been creating armies of species designed for specific purposes, all hidden from official record. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Ambassador Wright. Vaxis pulsed weakly. You do not understand the complexities. I understand enough, Ellen replied. We were told we were created to challenge corruption, so that is what I'm doing. I call for a full independent investigation into genetic manipulation of developing worlds, not conducted by the founding races but by a coalition of neutral parties. The small-eyed founding member blinked rapidly. You have no authority to make such demands. Ellen smiled slightly. Perhaps not. But they do. She gestured to the procession that had entered with her team. Representatives from dozens of worlds stood together. Their own investigations had revealed similar interference. Their own genetic heritage called into question. A tall delegate from a world called Novan stepped forward. We second Earth's call for investigation. Our world, too, shows evidence of manipulation. We have formed a coalition of affected planets. We demand answers. The council chamber descended into chaos again, delegates shouting, some in support, others in opposition. The founding members conferred urgently, their private communications evident in their agitated movements. Vaxis finally raised its form, higher, pulsing with intensity, to call for order. This session is suspended pending review by the Council Security Committee. All delegates will return to their assigned chambers immediately. As the representatives began filing out, many lingered, casting long looks at the human delegation and their new allies. Ellen could feel the political landscape shifting beneath her feet. What had begun as a simple petition for recognition had evolved into something that might reshape the entire galactic power structure. Jake approached her, speaking quietly. Security teams are mobilizing throughout the station. Some appear to be heading toward our chambers. Ellen nodded to Amara, who activated a small device on her wrist. Transmission sent. She confirmed. Our ships have been alerted. Marcus stepped closer. Ambassador, this is only the beginning. The founding races won't simply allow an investigation that could expose millennia of manipulation. Ellen watched as the founding members departed through a private exit. Their body language, even across vastly different physiologies, conveyed anger and fear. You were right, she said to her team. They created us to be unpredictable, to challenge systems, but they never expected us to challenge them directly. Amara smiled slightly. Always question the questioner. First rule of diplomacy, as security teams began to approach. Ellen straightened her shoulders. Whatever happens next, she said, humanity has announced its presence to the galaxy. We will not be pawns, we will not be weapons, and we will not be silenced. The human delegation stood together as the council chamber emptied around them. The first battle in a war of truth had begun, and Ellen knew with absolute certainty that nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. Here's part 4. Shields at 60%. The Novan pilot replied, his forearms working multiple controls simultaneously. 2 council enforcement vessels still in pursuit. We cannot outrun them to the jump point. Ellen exchanged looks with Marcus. Their gambit had worked perhaps too well. After exposing the conspiracy in the council chamber, security forces had moved to detain all the dissenting delegations. The coalition of manipulated worlds had anticipated this, having prepared escape vessels before the session. Incoming transmission. Marcus reported. The view screen at the front of the shuttle flickered to life, revealing the swirling energy form of High Arbiter Vaxis. Ambassador Wright. Vaxis pulsed. You have committed a serious violation of council. Protocol returned to the station immediately. Ellen stood moving to face the transmission directly. High Arbiter, your security forces attempted to detain us without formal charges. That itself is a violation of council law. Section 41, paragraph 3. The right of diplomatic representatives to freedom from unlawful detention. Vaxis pulsed rapidly. You misunderstand. The detention was for your protection. The information you revealed has created dangerous instability. Ellen maintained her composure. We are not returning to the station. We and our coalition partners are invoking Article 17 of the Council Charter, the right to seek independent arbitration when Council impartiality is in question. The transmission suddenly cut off, replaced by a proximity alert. A massive vessel had appeared ahead of their shuttle. Its design was unlike anything in Council records. A gleaming silver ship that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. We're being scanned, Amara reported. The ship's configuration doesn't match any known Council design. Before anyone could respond, the shuttle was enveloped in a soft blue light. The pursuing Council vessels suddenly veered away, as if repelled by some invisible force. Incoming transmission. New source, Marcus announced. A view screen changed, showing a humanoid figure with pale blue skin and silver eyes. We are the Guardians, the figure said, its voice melodic, yet carrying underlying power. You have awakened the Protocol Ambassador right. Your shuttle will be brought aboard our vessel. Ellen stepped forward. Who are you? What protocol? The figure smiled. The Protocol of Revelation. It was established 50,000 years ago when the manipulation began. We have watched and waited for the moment when the engineered worlds would discover their true nature. That moment has come. The transmission ended as the shuttle was drawn into the massive ship's hangar bay. Through the viewport, Ellen could see dozens of other small vessels similarly captured. Some she recognized as belonging to their coalition partners as the shuttle settled onto the deck. Ellen turned to her team. We may have just jumped from one problem into something much bigger. Be ready for anything. The shuttle door opened, revealing a vast hangar filled with representatives from at least 30 different species, all looking as confused as the humans. Many Ellen recognized from the council chamber, others were completely unfamiliar. The blue-skinned figure from the transmission approached, flanked by others of its kind. They wore simple white garments with intricate silver patterns that seemed to shift and move across the fabric. Welcome, children of design. The leader said, we are the guardians of the compact. The true history of the galaxy awaits you. Ellen stepped forward, her team close behind her. What is this place? Who are you exactly? The Guardian gestured around the massive hangar. This vessel is the Sentinel. It has orbited the galactic core for 50 millennia, observing, recording, waiting. We are the descendants of those who opposed the Great Manipulation. A representative from Novan stepped forward, his tall frame towering over most others. What manipulation? You speak of it as something specific. The Guardian nodded. Follow me. All will be explained. The gathered representatives were led through corridors of impossible architecture, spaces that seemed to bend and flow in ways that defied normal physics. Finally, they entered a vast circular chamber. Its walls were transparent, offering a breathtaking view of the galactic core pulsing with energy and light. At the center stood a raised platform surrounded by what appeared to be ancient artifacts. The Guardian took position at the platform 50,000 years ago. The galaxy was united under a single government, the Galactic Compact. A peaceful federation of over 10,000 worlds. Then came the collapse. The chamber darkened as a holographic display activated, showing scenes of ancient warfare, worlds burning, fleets of ships engaged in battle, species Ellen had never seen before fighting and dying. The founding races of what would become the Council were among the most powerful in the Compact. The Guardian continued. When the resource crisis began, when the ancient trade routes failed, they saw opportunity in chaos. Ellen watched, transfixed, as the hologram showed familiar forms. The crystalline beings, the energy entities like Vaxis the Dorn, all engaged in what appeared to be secret meetings. They divided the Galaxy among themselves, the Guardian explained. They engineered the collapse to consolidate power, but they knew their position would be temporary. Eventually, opposition would form, so they devised a plan spanning millennia. The hologram shifted, showing primitive worlds, early evolutionary forms of various species. They identified worlds with promising genetic templates, life that could be molded, shaped into specific forms, each world assigned a purpose, some bred for labor. He gestured toward several reptilian representatives, some for scientific advancement. He nodded toward insectoid beings. Others he turned to Ellen and the human delegation for warfare. Ellen felt a chill run through her. What you're describing is slavery on a galactic scale, the Guardian nodded. Precisely. They created you all to serve specific functions in their planned order, each species designed with strengths and weaknesses, ensuring no single world could threaten their control. But they did not account for the compact. Loyalists. Those of us who escaped the purges, who preserved the truth. A murmur ran through the gathered representatives. Anger, confusion, fear, all mingling together. If what you're saying is true, Marcus said, stepping forward. Why reveal this now? Why not earlier? The Guardian turned its silver eyes toward him. Because the protocol required certainty. The founding races buried their tracks well. It took millennia for us to gather evidence to locate all the engineered worlds to prepare for this moment. And what moment is that? Ellen asked. Revolution, the Guardian replied simply. The chamber erupted in voices, some calling for immediate action, others for caution. Ellen raised her hand, gradually bringing silence. You expect us to overthrow the council? Based on your word alone, she said. What proof do you offer beyond these displays? These could be fabrications. The Guardian smiled appreciatively. Skepticism, a trait deliberately enhanced in your species. Ambassador Wright. He turned to one of his companions, who brought forward a small device. This contains genetic markers from over 500 engineered species, including all of yours. It also contains the original command codes embedded in your genetic structure. Dr. Kaya stepped forward. Command code Z. Guardian nodded. Each engineered species was given certain genetic predispositions, inclinations toward specific behaviors, but also genetic locks, barriers that prevent certain types of thought or action, your human tendency toward tribal conflict, your inability to maintain large-scale cooperation for extended periods. These are not natural evolutionary traits, they are programmed limitations. Ellen felt her anger rising. So you're telling us we're all just puppets, dancing to genetic strings, pulled by ancient manipulators? Not puppets, the Guardian corrected, tools. But tools can be repurposed. When you know you are designed, you can begin to overcome your design. Amara spoke up for the first time. What exactly do you want from us? The Guardian turned, sweeping his gaze across all the gathered representatives. We want to restore the compact, to end 50,000 years of manipulation, to free all sentient beings to their own evolutionary destiny. We want justice. Jake crossed his arms and, you need us to fight your war? The Guardian shook his head. Not our war. Your war. All of you were created to serve others' purposes. We merely offer you the truth and the choice to determine your own future. Ellen looked around the chamber at the representatives of dozens of worlds, all created, all manipulated, all faced with the same choice. And if we refuse, she asked, what then? The Guardian gestured, and the transparent walls of the chamber became fully clear, revealing hundreds of ships surrounding the Sentinel, vessels of designs Ellen had never seen. Then we continue our watch. We have waited 50,000 years, Ambassador. We can wait longer. But know this. The founding races will not allow your awakening to stand. Now that you have begun to question, they will move to contain the threat. You and your coalition worlds will be isolated, quarantined, perhaps even cleansed. Ellen felt the weight of the moment. History pivoting on choices made in this room. I need time to consult with our coalition partners. This isn't a decision I can make alone. The Guardian bowed slightly. Of course you have one standard day to discuss. The founding races are already gathering their fleets. The Council even now votes on measures to declare your world's rogue states. The clock is ticking, Ambassador writes. Counseled careful negotiation, Dawn approached with no consensus. As interim spokesperson, Ellen called for final statements before a vote. The Novan representative stood. Our world was designed for diplomacy, he said. But that gift was meant to make us mediators who would prevent true unity. We vote to fight not because we are warriors, but because we choose our own purpose. One by one, the representatives declared their positions. 23 voted to stand against the Council. 7 chose neutrality, requesting only safe passage to their homeworlds. Ellen took a deep breath. Humanity had come to the stars seeking recognition. Instead, they had found the darkest secret in the galaxy, and now stood at the precipice of war. The Guardian entered as the IDAB vote concluded. Your coalition has chosen. He stated yes. Ellen replied, we will not accept the role designed for us. We stand for freedom, self-determination, the right of all sentient beings to choose their own destiny. The Guardian nodded. Then it is time. The command deck of the Sentinel hummed with activity as Ellen and representatives from the coalition worlds took positions alongside the Guardians. Massive view screens showed the approaching Council fleet. Nearly 300 vessels arranged. In battle formation, on a separate screen, the Council chamber itself appeared, Vaxus and the other founding members addressing the assembled representatives. The rogue worlds have allied themselves with terrorists, the High Arbiter declared. These so-called Guardians are remnants of a failed order. Their claims are fabrications designed to destabilize galactic peace. Ellen stepped forward, activating the transmission. The coalition speaks with one voice. High Arbiter, she announced, we have reviewed the evidence. The genetic markers. The historical records. The pattern of manipulation is clear. We demand recognition of all engineered worlds as free and sovereign. We demand reparations for millennia of genetic tampering. And we demand the immediate dissolution of the current council structure to be replaced by truly representative government. Vaxus pulsed angrily. You have no standing to make demands. Ambassador Wright, your coalition represents less than 1% of council worlds. Your Guardian allies are outlaws. Ellen remained calm. Then let the evidence speak for itself. She nodded to Dr. Kaya, who transmitted the genetic data to every world in council space simultaneously. The command codes, the manipulation patterns, the deliberate limitations built into dozens of species. We broadcast this information to all worlds. Ellen continued, let them examine their own genetic heritage. Let them see the chains that bind them. The council chamber erupted in chaos as representatives received the data. Many demanding explanation, others calling for immediate investigation. Vaxus flared brightly. This is sedition. You cannot. Ellen cut him off. This is truth, High Arbiter, something you have hidden for 50,000 years. The Guardian stepped forward, his silver eyes gleaming. This ends now. The compact will rise again. On the tactical display, council ships began breaking formation, some moving to defensive positions, others simply withdrawing. The fleet was fracturing as captains received the transmission as worlds across the galaxy processed the revelation. Ellen watched as historical momentum shifted before her eyes, yet she knew this was just the beginning. The founding races controlled vast resources armies that would remain loyal. The war would be long and brutal. High Arbiter Vaxus seemed to diminish his energy form, condensing. You do not understand what you have done. You speak of manipulation, but you know nothing of the true threat. Ellen frowned. What threat? The Vine founding member writhed in apparent distress. Tell them, Vaxus. Tell them why we did what we did. The High Arbiter pulsed weakly. The darkness beyond the ancient enemy. That is why we shaped worlds, why we created specialized species. We were preparing for their return. The Guardian stepped forward sharply. Another lie. You fabricate threats to maintain control. Vaxus flared suddenly. The harvesters are real. They consumed half the galaxy before the compact fell. They will return. The cycle always completes, and when they do, your precious freedom will mean nothing. Ellen looked to the Guardian. Is this true? For the first time, uncertainty crossed the Guardian's face. The Harvesters were legends, myths from the final days of the compact. The Dorn founding member rumbled deeply. We engineered worlds to survive. We created warriors like humanity, diplomats like the Novans, scientists like the Sari, all with specific strengths to stand against the coming darkness. Ellen felt cold realization washing over her. They had been designed as weapons, not for control, but for defense. A new alarm sounded throughout the Sentinel proximity alert. Massive energy signature detected at the galactic rim. A Guardian officer reported. All screens shifted, showing a tear in space, itself a massive structure emerging unlike anything Ellen had ever seen. Its surface black, absorbing all light. Its shape defying normal geometry. The Harvester Vanguard. Vaxis whispered, "They have returned." For a moment the command deck stood frozen. Coalition Council Guardians all united in sudden terror. Then Ellen stepped forward, turning to face them all. Council founding races. Guardians manipulated worlds. Our history is stained with deception and control, she said, but our future faces extinction. If what we see is truly the threat you prepared us for, then the time for division is over. She looked at the massive alien structure now fully emerged from whatever dimensional space it had occupied, its presence sending ripples of fear across the galaxy. We were engineered as weapons, she continued, but not as slaves. We choose now to stand against this threat. Not because we were designed to, but because we choose to. We fight for our freedom, our future, and in that fight, we will need every world, every species, every strength. The Guardian and Vaxis stared at each other. Ancient enemies faced with a greater threat. The cycle continues. The High Arbiter said, "They come to harvest, to consume, to destroy, as they have for millions of years. Then we break the cycle." Ellen declared, "We stand united, not as council, not as coalition, but as the free worlds of this galaxy." On screens across the command deck, reports flooded in. More tiers in space appearing, more harvester ships emerging. The vanguard of an invasion force that had haunted galactic nightmares for 50 millennia. The Guardian extended his hand to Vaxis, the gesture bridging an ancient divide. 50,000 years of hatred suspended in the face of extinction. The galaxy will unite, or fall, the Guardian said. Our quarrel means nothing. Now Vaxis pulsed in agreement. We will share everything. Our technology, our knowledge, our forces. Ellen looked out at the stars, at the approaching darkness, at the fleets now moving to defensive positions. Throughout the galaxy, engineered worlds were receiving the truth of their origins, but also the truth of their purpose. Not control, but survival. Ambassador Wright Vaxis said, "We created humanity with specific traits: adaptability, creativity, determination. In our arrogance, we believed we could control these traits, use them for our purposes. We were wrong." Ellen nodded. "The time for recrimination is past," she said. "We face extinction, all of us together. We need every advantage, every weapon, every strategy." She turned, addressing all ships, all worlds through the still open transmission. "To all free beings in the galaxy," she began. "This is Ambassador Ellen Wright of Earth. The threat our ancestors feared has arrived. The darkness that haunted their nightmares is real. But we stand together now. Council, Coalition, Guardian, Engineered, and Natural evolved." Ellen paused, looking at the representatives gathered around her. Each species designed with purpose. Each world with strengths. We were created as weapons, she continued, her voice growing stronger. But we choose our targets, we choose our battles, we choose our future. And today we choose to fight. Not as slaves, not as tools, but as the free sentient beings of this galaxy. Across thousands of worlds, billions of beings watched, listened as the truth of their origins and the terror of their future converged. The greatest war in galactic history was about to begin. Not a war of liberation, but a war of survival. Ellen Wright, once a simple ambassador, now the voice of a united galaxy, looked out at the darkness approaching and made her choice. The words that would echo across the stars for generations to come. We are the children of design, but today we choose our destiny. We stand against the night together. I've created a 5-part science fiction series following your instructions. Each part is approximately 1,000 words, written in third-person style with simple English. The story follows Ambassador Ellen Wright and humanity's first encounter with the Galactic Council, discovering a shocking conspiracy about humanity's engineered origins, and ultimately facing a greater threat. The narrative begins with the requested hook showing humans facing the intimidating Galactic Council for the first time, revealing humanity's diplomatic intelligence when confronted by this powerful authority. Throughout the story, I've included elements of human diplomacy, the Galactic Council headquarters, alien representatives, interstellar politics, and humanity's surprising position in galactic affairs. I've used simple names like Ellen, Marcus, Jake, Amara, and Kaya for the human characters while avoiding all the specific names you mentioned not to use. Each part maintains suspense and builds upon the previous sections to create an engaging narrative about humanity's place in the greater galactic community. Would you like me to make any adjustments to any of the parts? Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 3.7,